lights and camera turn off, I will be here. When the interest and conversation fade, I will be here. When there's no one around, a father will do anything it takes to be there for his son, to protect his family.
David.
Where's everybody?
9 painful months.
Without these special people behind me, I wouldn't have a search. Because of the way the seatbelt locked, so we know Hello, everyone. Dave Robson here. Just wanted to tell you thanks so much for joining me here on this live. Is one of the things I decided to do tonight. It's been a while since I came on to talk about my son. So I'm really grateful for everyone that's joining in tonight. Like I said, those who are on the Instagram side, I see you there. Those who are on the Facebook side, the YouTube, and also the X, Twitter. Just want to say thank you so much. Yeah, it has been, it kind of just dawned on me. I was planning this live stream, for short notice, but it just dawned on me today. It's the 23rd. It's been 4 years, 3 months since my son has been missing, and it just took me for a shock. I look at 23rd, and normally when I were doing live streams, on a regular, I would do on the month that's closer to the date that's closer to the 23rd, or on the 23rd of each month. I used to do what is called fast and prayer for Daniel. So being that I didn't realize that, I've been doing a whole lot. You guys, everybody probably know all the things I'm doing outside of searching for my son. It has been taking me away from being able to do the lives and things like that. So again, I wanted to start it back up a little to give everyone just some of the updates that's happening right now, what my plans are and things like that when in terms it comes to my son Daniel. Also the fact that I always had it in my heart and still have it in my heart to try to help as many families as I can. That was including my congressional run, as well as some other things that I'm doing. And so again, just want to say to everyone who just decided to come out and listen to what I have to say tonight. I truly appreciate it. I want to talk a little bit about Daniel first of all, to kind of give everyone who don't know anything about my son's case a little something to tell you a little something. I'm not gonna go through the whole entire case, of course. I get long-winded. I'm trying not to be long-winded tonight. I'm trying to make this short as possible, but I want to give you all something you can actually know what happened to my son, and also do some research and look it up, and like I said, to go along what I have been doing and what I plan to do, and so on. But Daniel, he's a native here of Columbia, South Carolina, born and raised. Our family, 3-generation, 4-generation family here in South Carolina, and just the sheer fact that he's the youngest male son of his siblings, and so he growing up, he's also, I don't say was, 'cause I never use was past tense for my son, because I really believe, and I'm gonna keep my faith, he's still out there somewhere. But my son Daniel, he's strong-minded. Ever since he was a kid, it was something that is part of his DNA. He's of course he was born without a right hand, but the but part is that have never ever stopped Daniel for anything he wanted to do. I think as concerns his mother and I, we were more concerned about that than he were. He only asked about his hand once to his mother. His mother gave him a great answer to it, and he never asked again. But the thing is, Dane, like I say, he challenged himself and do some amazing things, even from the smaller things of playing video games to challenging his siblings in academics, you name it. That's just Daniel. That's just his personality. Friendly, always got friends. He's a person that's very friendly oriented, just easily to make friends. Like to give advice and like to be that person that stands in between any kind of disagreements and things to try to help out. So that's his nature as well. Played a little sports. He just enjoyed himself. So come from a spiritual background as well. Of course, and so I can go on and on. But the thing is about Daniel, when he got to college, is one of the things that he wanted to do is go into geology. I think in his freshman year, if I can remember this correctly, he started when he was in his senior year, decided he wanted to kind of look into geology, but then he actually fell in love with it when he took classes in his freshman year at the College of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina. And from there, he disexcelled that. He did really well for himself, despite of the fact, as a parent, who's sending your child through school. I kind of smile about it because I just think about those great memories. Or it wasn't so great then when it was going on, but Daniel, like I say, have a lot of friends. He's one of the founders of his fraternity. He's travels with his friends and things like that while I was in college. So of course, when I say I smile about it, I kind of laugh because I remember the feeling of a parent thinking he's wasting money or he's not doing well in school. And then, like I said, he graduated with honors. So I'm gonna throw the picture up real quick as I'm talking, but he graduated with honors. And very proud of himself. Very proud of himself when he did so. Of course, we all are proud of him, but it's one of the things that's typical of Daniel. He'd been doing this since he was younger, like I said, just academically. So he's always some type of all-star or something academic all-star or something, where he'll always receive some type of awards for excellence. So Daniel, when he went to geologist, being an American scientist, that is something he wanted to do. And so to go fast forward, my son went out to Arizona, and he went to take a class in Flagstaff, and while he was out there, he decided to live in Arizona. I'm sure any geologist would love Arizona. Arizona have a lot of rocks, and it's a playground, like you can say. I'd like to say for a geologist, someone who love that part of nature, who love that part of the earth. Just be able to tell you where these rocks come from, or just all the things that geologists can do. So he started with a company called. We moved to Phoenix, Arizona. From Flagstaff, he went straight to Phoenix, Arizona. He landed his first job in life with a company called Matrix New World. It's also called Matrix Southwest Groundwater. They are an engineering company that sets well sites and groundwater and things like that. His job, he's hired on as a field geologist, hydrogeologist, and he's been working there for a little over a year before he ended up going missing. So the thing is, though, Daniel, when he get assignments to various locations all across the Arizona. Like I said, sometimes he work at night, sometimes he work at day. It's been many, many times my son and I talk on the phone while he's at work. He'll tell me, "Hey, hold on, Dad, I got to go check some. I think he's some water levels or something to that effect." Or he'll go talk to sometimes he on sites where there's multiple people. So he go talk to people. So I've been there, even though I was in South Carolina, I've been there because my conversations always be 2 hours. So, I get to hear some of the things that goes on with his job. Some of his concerns were with the job, though, is the fact that a lot of times he had to pay up so much upfront costs. His fuel, his using his personal vehicle to equipment that he needed out there, and then the job of reimburse him after facts, and those were some things that was problematic for him, but it's part of his job. But on June the 23rd of 2021, he got assigned to 2 well sites. one in both in Buckeye, Arizona, but one off the Broadway area for those who are in Arizona know what I'm talking about, and the other one was the side two was off of Sun Valley Parkway near going towards Surprise. So um, he according to the reports and everything, he made it to the first well site where he took some pictures of logs and things like that. And from there, he was, like I say, assigned to the second well site where he should have been meeting a person called named Ken Elliott. He's a guy that works for a different company. It's a drilling company. They actually drill the wells and things like that. So he was assigned to go meet him out into this well site to do work out there at that well. Um, on that morning, like I said, according to, and I'm not going to go into the full details of this, but I'm going to most of that I can that's out there, public knowledge. And he left the well site, like I said, according to reports. There are some things that I'm kind of hesitant on, even though those are public knowledge, that he supposedly had gotten gas from a gas station and all that stuff. But there's some things part of recycling over the report, recycle over some of the investigation stuff I've been doing from day one. I have to kind of pull back on some of those things that we hear necessarily in the police report, for instance, because I will bring up some things later. But what I'm saying is the word for the public's sake is that he left that area and head out towards Sun Valley Parkway, where he's meeting Ken on the shoulder of the road. And of course, like I said again, there's some things in between, but when he got there to that Sun Valley Parkway, West Cactus Road, near that area, according to Ken, he and Daniel talked for a brief minute on the shoulder of the road. My son followed him into that desert, 1 mile west, 2 miles north to the well site. According to Ken, his spoken word to, and this is me saying what law enforcement said, but also including part of it is what he told me personally once I got to Arizona. But he said that they arrived at the well site around 9 o'clock. And they had a discussion about the possible weather, the rain, and things like that. My son wanted to close, I'm assuming, the well site down for the day because of the possible rain. And he said my son asked him, do he want to go back to Phoenix to rest? And so, of course, me having an investigation, I would disagree with that because Daniel didn't even live in Phoenix. He lived in Tempe at the time. So, but one of the things that Ken said that he wanted to go back to Phoenix. Do you want to go back to Phoenix to rest? So I want to go back over that a little quick, and I'm going to stop here for a moment because I do want to put something on the screen. Let me see if I can get it. You all may be able to see it. I'm see if I can make it bigger, and you may not. But anyway, a couple things I want to say about this is if I hope you all can see that. I'm not sure if you can see this. If it's clear enough, somebody give me a thumbs up in the chats, and I would know if you all could see this, because if I probably couldn't get it big enough, or like I would love to have gotten it bigger enough so you can see it. Give me some thumbs up if it's read, or you can read it there. Okay, I'm assuming you all cannot. I don't see any thumbs. Give me some thumb downs if you can't see it. That probably help me out a little better. Oh, you can see it, but you can't read it. It's a little small. Okay, I got you. Thanks so much, Julie. Thank you so much also off of Instagram, Valentine, C Valentine. Thanks so much. Phoenix, thank you. Thank you all. Okay. So I'll tell you what. That's page number 3. Page number 3, Lakeisha. Page number 3 is part of the report. So I guess I can read it out to you all. Since you can't see it there, let me see. You know what? Matter of fact, let me see if I can do it this way. Make it a little easier for you. You all may be able to get it bigger. How about that? Well, then again, no. Okay, this is this report. I won't be able to do that. I have to read it to you because it's an unredacted report, and I have to try to protect some things in there. I see you can read it, Kish. You probably have your copy, right? So. Okay, well, I'll read this. It's the first part what I wanted to will speak about. It is a narrative that, and that's from the first officer. And I'm gonna put let's see which officer this was. Officer Cruz. He's the first person even I spoke with when it came to reporting my son missing. Well, not the first person I reported him missing. Then in turn, I talked to Officer Cruz. He's the first officer that I spoke with who went out to Sun Valley Parkway. So the narrative, he said on June the 23rd, 2021, at approximately 1904. I don't know if anybody know the military time, but it's around 6 o'clock in the evening. So I was dispatched. Well, 7 o'clock, excuse me. But I was dispatched and to a telephonic call for service referencing a missing person. I observed the call notes, which showed that the person, the reporting person, David Robinson, lives in South Carolina, and that he had not heard from his son Daniel since this morning when he was at the job site in Buckeye. I called Daniel's cell phone multiple times. The phone rang, but no one answered. I then called Daniel's work, Matrix New World. I spoke with Georgia at the front desk and let her know that about my investigation. Georgia was very concerned and said that she would start calling some supervisors and that they would be calling me. Now, the problem I have with that is that, at that point, Georgia is the person that works at Matrix New World. She is a front desk person. I met her a few times when I got to Arizona. Of course, I had multiple meetings with Daniel's company. And according to the report, they had multiple conversations about Daniel not being at the work site that day, early that morning. So it's kind of shocking to see that Georgia felt that it was a surprise that, Daniel was not seen, and I reported him missing. And so, being that he's at work, the job should have known that he was missing, according to the report. According to Ken as well, he said he spoke with Steve and some of the other ones there at the job at Matrix New World. And according to Georgia, who was the front lady who works at the office with Steve and the rest of them, had no clue that Daniel was missing. She started calling supervisor. So that's one thing that kind of stood out to me when I was reading that part of the report. Also, he said that he called then also Cruz. See if I can get back to where I was at. Let me see. Okay. I called said okay. I then called Dan's work. Okay, Georgia on front desk to let her know that who he was and he was investigating. Georgia was very concerned and said that she would start calling some supervisors and that they would be calling. I then spoke with David by telephone. David said that his daughter had been to Dan's apartment and Dan was not there. Neither was his vehicle, which was described as a blue Jeep Renegade. Daniel also said that they have been receiving information from a co-worker. They had received information from a co-worker of Daniel's. He advised that Daniel had been to the job site in Buckeye, but that he had left in the morning and had not come back. I then spoke with Kevin, who is a supervisor with the company. He advised that Ken Elliott with the company Weber was the person that had met with Daniel. I spoke with Ken on the phone. Ken advised that Daniel arrived at the site at around 9 o'clock that morning, and it was raining. And so I want this to be the key point. This is the first person that talked to Ken, who was with my son that day, the last person that saw my son, and he said 9 o'clock. And normally I say this a lot when it comes to investigating. A lot of things are fresh in people's head when it first happened. So the day of when Daniel went missing, the first person that they talked to, which was on a few hours, late on that day, was Ken. And Ken said 9 o'clock. So it was supposedly fresh in his head, the events of that day, right? 9 o'clock. And that it was raining. That's what he's saying, it was raining, right? But I want you to pay attention to those two things. He says 9 o'clock and it was raining. Ken said to Daniel Ken said that Daniel was saying things that did not make sense, like asking if Ken wanted to go rest, and then asked if he wanted to go to Phoenix to rest. Another thing that stood out for me with that as well is that the fact, again, Daniel did live in Phoenix once before, but during the time before he went missing, he had long moved to Tempe, Arizona. That's outside of Phoenix. And the second part is that, of course, Daniel's first time ever meeting Ken, and Ken don't know anything about him. I'm sure he didn't know where he even lived. And so it's kind of weird to me that he would say he wanted to go to Phoenix to rest, or even ask Ken, not knowing where he lived, did he want to go to Phoenix to rest. Ken advised Daniel that was not Ken advised that Daniel was not making sense with the things that he was saying, and that he was talking about things that did not make sense. Ken said that Daniel was there for approximately 15 minutes, and then he suddenly left. And so that was the first initial thing. Ken said that he was concerned because Daniel's behavior and spoke of Daniel's behavior and spoke with Steve. And see, again, Steve is a supervisor, and this is supposed to have been around 9 o'clock that morning, who is a project manager, and let Steve know that he had what had happened. Ken said that he continued working and that he was receiving updates throughout the day from Steve. The problem I had with that as well is that, if Rebel Waterworks was able to work that site without Nature's New World, why they had Nature's New World there, right? And so he said he kept working throughout the day, but how would he be able to do that without having a geologist there, without having that field geologist there? That didn't make sense to me. I wonder if they sent somebody else up there to take my son's place, because those jobs cannot be done without my son there, right? His position where he is a field geologist, a hydrogeologist. But somehow he worked the whole entire day without my son, or without Nature's New World being present. So those things that stand out to me as well. Now, let me see if I can go a little further here. Yes, go to the next page. We're on page number 4, Keisha, if you're looking at this. Ken said that approximately 3 o'clock that evening, say 1500, which is 3 o'clock, excuse me, he was made aware that Daniel had not been located and had not responded to texts or calls from work or family. Ken said that he then started to drive to the desert, in the desert, to find Daniel. And that was like at 3 o'clock that evening. He said he decided to go look for Daniel. Now, we need to keep those in mind. That's what he says, it's 3 o'clock. We also need to keep in mind that around 3 o'clock-ish, or even 4, Ken did call Daniel's phone. That's not here on the report, though. And so let's see here where I'm at. Losing my place here. All right. Ken said approximately at 3 o'clock he was made aware that Daniel had not been located, and he had not responded to texts or calls from work or family. Ken said he then started to drive in the desert to find Daniel. Ken said that the road to their site runs north-south, and that he had head south. It comes to a T section, and that if you turn east, you go towards Sun Valley Parkway, where they had come in. Ken said that he could see Daniel's tire marks that they turned westbound. That the intersection which lead an extremely large desert area. Ken said that he drove down the road trying to locate Daniel, but was unable to. Now, I've had to back up a little bit, because then with the story, I have to also throw in my version, right? The version, when I say my version, what Ken told me personally. I also have written notes, and also have 2 witnesses who was there present at the time. So to give everybody a little understanding while reading his report, And why I'm focusing on Ken so much right now is that, of course, I always have been doing that from day one, because the story, I never believed it. But at the same time, I want to make sure the differences are here in the report, and the reason why I'm really upset when law enforcement not scrutinizing the story, like I used to say on CNN and some of the other outlets, if you or News Nation rather, and you have to scrutinize the story when the person's the last person that saw someone that's been missing, and so. And also get cell phone pings from this person. Also get the look, all this kind of stuff matters, right? So when I left South Carolina, I drove over 2,000 miles to get to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona at the time, and to skip ahead because I did a lot of work, due diligence with my daughter. We did everything, try to find Daniel, any kind of clue stuff. At the same time, working with law enforcement. But as a father, I needed to see Ken eye to eye. That was when I was on that road. That was probably one of the things, because more and more as I was traveling, I was doing a lot of phone calls and getting a lot of phone calls and getting a lot of information, and nobody can find Daniel. So of course I'm going to look for this person who said they see my son last, right? And also the fact that he said some things to me as a father, especially as a single parent, that I know about my son that just didn't make sense to me. First of all, he's saying my son was, it didn't dawn on me about the Phoenix part. I'll be honest with you, during the first beginning until later on, hindsight now. But during the time, what bothered me was that he said my son was supposed to be sleepy, so sleepy and all this kind of stuff. And I guess and wanted to drive back to Phoenix. So I felt that if my son was that tired and he did, he just wouldn't he would have called in or something, right? And so those are the things that I really think about my son. And so some of the things about talking strangely and all this kind of stuff. That's not what I had when I spoke to my son. The 2 days prior, it was regular conversation, normal conversation, 3 hours. So some of those things didn't stick it. But at the same time, I want to see this guy that said my son disappeared. So I did. I set it up with Matrix New World. They called his company. They called him, however they did it, and said he was willing to speak with me. I carried my daughter with me. I carried someone else with us as well. We rode up to Sun Valley Parkway, and it's kind of ironic because I believe the same exact spot where my son met Ken was the same spot that I was parked. He wasn't there at the gate, but I did call Matrix New World, let them know that, hey, I'm at this gate waiting on Ken. They in turn called him, let him know I was outside the gate. So a little while later, a vehicle showed up, a pickup truck. I think it was a Dodge pickup truck. And the truck pulled up, but kind of made a U-turn, backed up towards the fence, put the tail end to the fence. And so we just sitting in the car. Now, I can't tell you what my vehicle, people know in South Carolina, especially, they see my vehicle all the time. I have heavy tint, so you're not going to see me on the inside. I can see you, but you can't see me. So the person got out, really heavy set guy. He probably weighed a good 300 pounds. And so he came out the vehicle. He came to the vehicle. He kind of trying to look through the windshield. I'm sure you can't see me, but I got out and I said, Ken. He said, I'm not Ken. I asked him who he was. He wouldn't tell me his name. So he said, what do you want with Ken? I told him I was Dane's father. I heard the police told me a story, and I just wanted to, ask Ken a few questions. And he just asked me, like, what question you want to ask? And I said, I just want to ask about my son, right? I didn't really think of nothing nefarious at the time, but he just asked a lot of questions. So he said, well, you know what? I can take you to see Ken. And I said, oh, okay, how far is it? Where is it? Because I don't know anything about the well site. I just heard about a well site out there. And he said, oh, it's about 20 miles, 20 miles in the depth, 20 miles. 20. And my mom like, 20 miles? I'm like, okay. I said, no, I'm not leaving my daughter here and, the other person here at the gate. I'm not leaving these women here at the gate. And so he was adamant about it. He opened his door, he's reaching inside his truck, and he had like all these food trays or something, containers. He was pushing all on the floorboard of his truck and tried to convince me, come on, I'll take you to see Ken. You can come ride me. I'm like, no, thank you. I said, Ken can come here. No, I'm not leaving. So he gave up and he got on the phone. He called Ken because I know he said Ken. He mentioned his name. And they was talking about something. As they started talking, he told Ken to hold on. he hopped in. He was already sitting in the driver's seat. He shut the door. He pulled forward out of earshot. They had a little conversation, whatever conversation was. Then he back into that position, and he said, "Ken is on his way." He drove off into that desert. I'll say about good 10 minutes after that, 10, 15 minutes, I saw another pickup truck coming up. There's another white truck, but this time it was a utility truck. And sure enough, when the utility truck stopped, Ken jumped out. The first thing he did is open up the side compartment. I don't know if anybody knows what a utility truck is. They have these little compartments on the side of the truck. He opened the first compartment and he stood there and put his hand in there and stood there. So I immediately, as a military guy, watching hands, that's one of my training. And so when he did that, I saw he was on the defense. I saw his body language. And so I knew he looked he was on the defensive, whatever reason. So from afar, I told him where I was, what I was wanted to talk to him about, because I figured that's who he was. And then he finally loosened up and he told me he was Ken. And he told me that, and then when he told me the story, it was the same exact story you guys heard on this report. He said that, him and Daniel made it to that well site around 9 o'clock that morning. I'm paraphrasing now because I'm not going to use that word, but it was exactly that day as Officer Cruz told me what he said, right? And so I listened to him, and then I started asking some other questions. I said, "Hey, were you at this well site, since Daniel been missing?" "Oh yeah, I've been here since. I've been here every day. I got there on the 26th." So he was, "Oh yeah, I'm here every day since Daniel was missing, working." I said, "Okay, great," because at that time I heard that they had a Phoenix Firebird helicopter in the air, search for Daniel, and Buckeye claimed they went to go search for Daniel. And so I asked him, I said, "Look, did you?" I said, "Oh, great, you seen the officer here at the well site, and you saw the helicopter." And he said, "No, no officer came to the well site. He ain't seen no helicopter." So I was puzzled in my head, like, okay, that's strange, because that's what they told me and my family. But nevertheless, so I kind of did some tactics that I learned, and I befriended him. I befriended him in a way. When I say befriend him, I did it in the language, and in the language, he started loosening up even more to talk. So that was some little tactic I learned how to get people to talk a little bit. So he started loosening up and started telling me his version of the story, his real version of the story. And his version of the story is pretty much the same, except the fact that he felt he needed to stay left of the tracks as he was going south on that dirt road to keep from disturbing those tracks. He said, "I stayed left of the tracks so I didn't disturb them." And he said, "Because I know law enforcement was going to be looking and this thing was going to go national, right?" And I didn't know what he meant. Hindsight, that's weird to me, but I didn't know what he meant at the time. So I just wrote it down. All right. And so, because, I'm doing investigation, and my mind's investigating, so I'm writing everything down that he was saying. And so he gave me the story. He said he got to the T junction. He explained to me again, like on the report, if you go back left, you go back to Sun Valley Parkway. If you go right, you go west out further into the desert. But he said he's noticed that Daniel's track has gone right and gone out west into the desert. He said he followed the tracks until he came to a wooden gate. And it still didn't dawn on me because I'm just listening to the story at the time. But hindsight, I'm saying to myself now, if Daniel got lost somehow, like someone else suggested, if he would have made that right turn and came to this gate, this wooden gate at that, he would have known he was going the wrong direction and would have turned around because he didn't come in that place and do any wooden gate. So according to Ken, he came to a wooden gate looking for Daniel because the tracks led to the wooden gate. He got out his vehicle. He opened up this wooden gate. He drove through the gate. He drove another mile or so. He came into an open area, and he said he went up to some little high elevated area to see if he could see Daniel from afar. Then he started describing that he started painting some rocks with red paint, for whatever reason. So law enforcement can know where the tracks go or something to that effect. And so that was his story. And so I told law enforcement, I told Officer Cruz them about that. Well, actually at the time, it was Detective Biffin on the scene by that time. And they said, that's what he said. And that was the end of that that part of what Ken had to say. Now I can tell you, go back to this report. Ken said approximately. Okay, we'll go back here to read some of the stuff. I updated David on my findings to that point. I let him know that I was going to circulate the area of the desert to try to find Daniel. I also let him know that Daniel was going to be put on the NCIC as a missing person. Myself and Officer Thatcher spent hours trying to locate the vehicle in the area, but was unable to locate Daniel. Daniel was entered into the NCIC as missing, and on, let's see here, if I can go a little further, on 6/24/2021, approximately at 1 o'clock hours, one in the morning. I tried calling his phone again, but there was no answer. The support is open until Daniel is located. I have no further to report at this time. Now I can tell you, Officer Cruz told me that night when I report, because I was on. Y'all, everyone should know I was I didn't sleep. I was up all night because at the time when Daniel went missing, I reported him missing. The more I learned, the more I was asking them to put a helicopter out there to search for him. They denied it, and could you imagine to tell a military guy they couldn't helicopters can't fly at night? So that really messed with me that night, and so they agreed to do it the next morning, but then turned around and canceled it. But I was on the phone with Officer Cruz that night, all night. So he was on shift, and I was on shift with him because I was kept calling, do he find anything, find things. So when I hear Buckeye say that they used the word area, they were searching the area. Officer Cruz in real time in his vehicle, him and Officer Thatcher out there on Sun Valley Parkway. They explained to me, that's when I first heard of Sun Valley Parkway. I never know what that was. I didn't even hear the road. The coworkers didn't even tell me of a road called Sun Valley Parkway where Daniel went missing. They just said White Tank Mountains at the time. And so they said it's a long road. They explained to me Sun Valley Parkway is a very long road. It goes out, over, I think, about 15, 20 miles or so. And so they said it's riding up and down. There's checking, to see if he's on the side of the road. So that was the furthest, when they say area, that's the understanding I have from Officer Cruz at the time when he was out there looking. They wasn't like going into the desert on some dirt roads in the dark of the desert in their vehicles looking for Daniel. No, it wasn't that. It was in the area, meaning they was in the area of Sun Valley Parkway and West Cactus Road at the time, that dirt road. So I just wanted to point that out too as well. I wish I could have put this report up, you guys, so everyone could see this as I'm reading the stuff. I'm going to page 12, Keisha, if you there. Anybody got the report on them? Page 12. I'm see if you can see this. If anyone can see this page here, let me know this one too. Let's see. Oh no, that's not the right one. That's not the right one. I believe I want to go here. Anybody can see this one better? Anybody can see this one better? Okay, I guess not. All right. So I just want to check if anyone can see this, but I wanted to go to this one really. See, I'm still messing up. I'll go back to that. Let me see. I'm looking for page 12 and 13. Yes. Okay. All right. Anyone can see this one? It's too small. PM channel, you say it's too small. The print is too small. This one right here, page 13, page 12. We're half of 12 and 13. PM channel. Still too small, PM channel? Oh, yeah, okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm going to read this, and it's too small, but what I'm going to do is read it, and hopefully, I know you won't be able to see this, but yeah, okay. Thank you, Original Sin. I really appreciate that. Thank you, everyone on Instagram, too, DL and Ladybug. Thank you, everyone. All right, I'm going to read what I wanted to speak about. But I'll go to the point where it said here, this is not the whole page of 12 that I'm starting at. It's a certain portion that I'm getting to. A lot of it, like I said, is I have the unredacted version of things, and I'm trying to keep some people's name out. Now, some of the names that you see on there are people that made themselves public. But I will go right here when it said after the point. So, all right, let's see what I can get it here. Okay, after speaking to Kevin, I contact Kenneth by phone, who is Kenneth, is the last person that seen Daniel. And I want to back up, and so you can see that this is a different officer. This is not Officer Haley any longer. This officer, I think, was Thatcher. And so we have a different officer who talked to Ken after, right? After Daniel was missing, Officer Cruz talked to Ken the day he went missing. And like I said, it was fresh in his head. So he said 9 o'clock, right? That's why I asked you guys, remember it was 9 o'clock. They said they made it well site. 9:15, Daniel was gone, right? Those are some of the things I was pointing out. And also some other little keynotes. And so he says that after speaking with Kevin, which is one of Daniel's supervisors, I contacted Kenneth by phone. Kenneth answered the phone when I called. I informed him who I was, and that I was conducting a follow up to Daniel being a missing person. I asked Kenneth if he had heard from Daniel since he was missing, or if he knew Daniel's whereabouts. Kenneth said he didn't know where he was and have not heard from him. I asked Kenneth if he could re-explain to me what happened that day, the day that Daniel went missing. Kenneth said Kenneth works for another company that works along with Matrix Global Water. Kenneth said the day of the incident on 6/23/2021 was the first time he met Daniel. Kenneth said they drove out to the job site. He in his vehicle and Daniel in his Jeep. Kenneth explained to me over the phone the location of how they got into the location. This matched the image as seen on Google Maps as described above. Kenneth said they got to the job site at approximately 9:30. So the time changed, 9:30 hours. And I point that out for a few things. Because for me as an investigator, I'm a father, but I had to put an investigative hat on. As soon as he's changed the story, he's changed the time frame, I start throwing up red flags, right? And the reason why, and it's only because once I understood that Daniel's last phone call to Ken was at 9:28 that morning, it would be reasonable why a person would start, getting those things changed, right? In some areas, and I'm gonna say this because later on, also, we had some indication that how long that vehicle, when it finally showed up, how it ended up in that ravine. So the story changed, but that would put some flags up for me to say, hey, I need to look into it deeper, make sure there's nothing nefarious going on. Is why reason why I point that out. Kenneth, when they got to the job site, Kenneth, when they got to the job site, at times he noticed Daniel appeared to stare off into the distance, or would just be staring at nothing in particular. Now, according to Ken on the first port, he said they've been they've been there approximately about 15 minutes, right? But all of this happened in 15 minutes. So again, Kenneth said Daniel would talk to him at times, but it was regarding topics that were not related to the work they were there to do. Kenneth said this was odd. This was odd to him. Kenneth. According to Kenneth, he recalls Daniel asking him, "Do you want to go home?" And Officer Cruz Officer Thatcher put this in quotes. "Do you want to go back to Phoenix?" Right? And he said he put this in quotes as in he remembers exactly how he said it. He said, "Do you want to go home? Do you want to go to Phoenix?" And it was in quotations. And so what I'm saying is, this is what Kenneth told the officer. And again, Daniel do not live in Phoenix. This is their first time of a meeting. Daniel don't know if he live in. I don't know if in the conversation Kenneth said, "Hey, I live in Phoenix" or something. I don't know, but I do know where he lives, of course, because I do my investigation, and I can tell you it's not in Phoenix. So where Phoenix even come from, I don't know. All right. So, but I digress. Kenneth said at the time, it appeared that it was going to rain. It appeared that it was going to rain, but he told Officer Cruz that it was raining. Right. So we have two different things. You tell one officer it appeared that it's going to rain, so that means it wasn't raining. But then the first officer said it was raining. All right, and he said, Kenneth said he told Daniel he would check the weather application on his cell phone. So if they had this weird conversation and Daniel was acting so weird and that's all this weird thing got nothing to do with the job, how they had a conversation about him looking at his weather like there's friends? Oh, we're gonna look at this weather app together or something, right? Can't have both things happening at the same time, right? So then he says, Kenneth stated as Kenneth began to look at the weather application on his cell phone about 9:45 now. This is he said 9:30 now, 15 minutes after that, 9:45 hours. He saw Daniel wave. Now, while he looking at his cell phone app, Daniel waved at him as if he was waving goodbye. Kenneth said Daniel didn't say anything, walked over to his Jeep and drove away from the area. Unprovoked, just drove away, right? And Kenneth said Daniel was last seen driving south on a dirt road from the job site. Kenneth explained that Daniel continued south down the dirt road. And how he know that? If you send a well, and I can tell you this from that well site. If you're looking for the well site, you can see a person driving east, right? Then once they make that turn from that east point and start heading south, I'll say a good 15, 20 feet, you won't be able to see that person because of the brush. You won't be able to see anything they're doing. But he said he went straight down. He observed him going all the way down south. Okay, Kendall explained that Daniel continued south down the dirt road. He would have come to a spot where the road splits to the west and to the east. He said after Daniel didn't come back to the area, he went looking for Daniel. But on the first report, he said he didn't do that until 3:00 that evening. Kenneth said at the split in the road, he saw some fresh tire tracks that went west. So I'm hearing different things. That's what I'm saying. As a parent, that bothers me, this kind of stuff. And it bothers me that law enforcement don't think anything about it. Kenneth said it was rain. It had rained while they were out there. So he believed the rain washed away all the tire tracks, and the new tracks was from Daniel's vehicles. Again, he told Officer Cruz, he just said it wasn't raining, but now he said it was raining since it was out there. I mean, so it's mismatched. Okay. All right. And so let me see where I'm at. Kenneth said at one point he went to a part of the high grounds, and that's part of kind of consistent of what he told me, minus the details. He went to the high ground to scan the area for Daniel, but ultimately he could not find him. And so I want to say this real quick before I forget this part. When you follow, and everyone know, and I wish I tried to get that together, you guys, for this live stream, because I'm gonna come back again. We're gonna have more live streams again. I didn't done this a while, but I will be back to go back through this again. But when I was out there doing all those weeks of desert searches, many people know I was out there more than a lot of people. I was there almost every day, a lot of times out there in that desert, right? And those on the weekend searches was the only time that we had volunteers, and I like to keep I call it organized volunteer. We have people out there coming to weekdays too, but the organized searches was on the weekend. And so After the search, I usually do sometimes I do, and only my desert team knew what I was doing after the searches. We out there sometimes after the volunteers. I'm the last man on the ground. After the volunteers get out there desert, make sure everybody's safe out of the desert. Sometimes I do investigative stuff. Sometimes I just go to the crash site and try to see if I can feel something from Daniel, all kind of stuff, right? But one time I decided to follow Ken's story, the way he told me the story, the way he told Officer Cruz. And when you listen to the story he told me, it would literally take you to where the vehicle was going to be found, literally. And I'm not making this up. And so that was problematic for me. And again, what I think was one young lady, I can't think of her name right now, like she put on her report, her live stream, Buckeye Police Department take it as gospel. Anything Ken says is gospel. No need to interrogate him. No need to bring him in for questioning. No need to look at his cell phone. No need to do anything, right? And his story, whatever he said, is just point blank true. Um, the only person I've known in Daniel's entire case to date that ever been in interrogation room was me and my daughter. They put us in interrogation room, started asking a whole bunch of questions about, how to get his information off cell phone. When I say information as in bank statement, this, that, blah, blah, that type stuff, phone log, that kind of thing. But Kenneth said it had rained while they were out there. So he believed the rain washed away the tire tracks, and the new tracks was from Daniel's vehicle. Kenneth said at one point he went to a part of the high ground to scan the area for Daniel, but ultimately he couldn't find him. Kenneth told me at some point after Daniel left the job site, Kenneth contacted his boss, Steve Knoll. Oh, I said his name. Informing him what was going on. Kenneth stated he later received word from Steve and other employees that Daniel did not contact anyone in the company since he left the job site, and that no one knew where Daniel was at. Ken ultimately reported no behaviors or statements from Daniel that suggested he was hallucinating, that he was incoherent. I mean, see, it's so messed up, this report. One hand he was saying things that didn't make sense, but then the other hand he said he's not saying anything incoherent, or he was having some kind of mental health issues. Additionally, Kenneth advised Daniel did not make any direct, indirect suicidal statements or actions. So before ending my contact with Kenneth, I informed him he needs to report to police any information he obtains regarding Daniel's whereabouts if Daniel contacts him. Kenneth said he would. Now, the next part of this thing going to Caitlin, but we'll talk about on the next live. But to give my take on all of that, it's a lot more that I would like to go into when it comes to Ken. But the things, like I said, that stands out that would throw red flags for me is to say that, when law enforcement feel that they just take a person's word over the other. I'm a father. I had a couple of things that law enforcement wouldn't take, and to this day it's not in a report. Just like Brandon, who found the vehicle, his beliefs about fourth generation cattle rancher. You guys seen it on Fox, America's Most Wanted missing persons. His stand on it. He always stood on that. He fourth generation cattle rancher. The vehicle's too clean. You see it behind me. He's a desert guy. He sees what comes in the desert. The cattle knows when things come in the desert, hanging around. The vehicle's too clean. They have been in the desert for that length of time. All this kind of stuff. But they also refuse to take a direct notes that I wrote in real time with witnesses, my daughter and the other person, what Ken was stating that day. They refused to look into that. They refused to put that in the report. They also refused to put in a report when I first went to Dane's apartment, and that goes along with what we found later on, hindsight. Someone been in Dane's apartment after he went missing, looked through his computer. They refusing to take the statement that I had given them when my daughter was showing me Dane's apartment for the first time. I drive a little faster than she did. I have it on my GPS, but she drives a little slower than I do. So I got to the apartment complex before she did with this other person with me in the vehicle. The other person was like, "Hey, that vehicle looks just like your son's vehicle as it's coming out at a high rate of speed out the apartment complex." I looked at it, and one reason why she said this is because we only can go by the picture that Daniel have given me. And not the picture you guys see here, but the really pretty picture of that vehicle that you guys see in the public. Daniel gave that to me and I put it in the public. But um, that's the only thing we had to go by. So this vehicle did look like that. It had the red hooks in the front. It did have the little design on the hood of the vehicle. But being it was Arizona, I told her, I said, that could be anybody. And it was like, to me, she said she felt it was I saw 4 white guys. She's seen someone that could have been Hispanic. That's how she felt. But the thing is, they was going out at a high rate of speed. And I kick myself in the butt all the time to this date, because one thing I haven't done is just for this case, wrote down the license plate number, because I did see it. I just can't remember what it was. But I did let law enforcement know that. I even tried to find camera footages. I talked to neighbors, all this kind of stuff. I did my work. I talked to neighbors that told me they never had Buckeye even ask them questions. They never came to their house or anything like that. No law enforcement, but I did, did my investigation. So those things law enforcement would not bring up. They were not adding to the report. They didn't go investigate any of that. So that's a few things, but it's a lot more I can go at, and I'm not here to talk about all that. But what I came here to give everyone a little bit about what happened to my son. He went missing, like I said, at well site, almost 30 days after that, July 19th. His vehicle showed up almost 3 miles away from that well site, sitting here in this ravine. I know the picture, if they have all the stuff they put on there. You see this picture, you think it's like a flat surface, but it's actually a 20-foot drop down in that ravine, lying on this passenger side. Later with my investigation, with my investigator that I hired, we got the 11 additional miles. And I want everybody to be clear. So if you go Google Daniel's story, who haven't heard Daniel's story, everything you heard about Daniel's vehicle did not come from law enforcement. So I don't want, and I say it this way because I was very disappointed with law enforcement. They haven't contributed to anything when it comes to finding information about my son, outside the fact they just pat themselves on the back and say we did these searches, or they say I found the Mile IQ app that I gave them, and they hang their hat on and try to say that the vehicle was there for 30 days, despite of the evidence that the vehicle staged, right? And then also, so what I'm saying is their investigation was always more of disproving the evidence that we found. The 11 additional miles, the 46 initial cycles, the red transfer payment side of the vehicle. I mean, I just know these things. The time of day, but we're going to talk about the time of day because I have a difference on that, on the time of day. But we're going to talk about that. I have a person who brought us some really great pros and got some good information. So we'll be talking about that on lives too. I'll be bringing that up. But the thing is just everything was always contributed from outside sources, not from law enforcement. So anything you read out there, please understand it wasn't law enforcement. Law enforcement didn't do the 50 weeks of desert searches. That was my searches. Law enforcement haven't found any human remains. I found my search. We found the human remains and brought those closures. So even the human skull. So anything. I'm saying it that way because a lot of times I get it. We give law enforcement all the credibility about things, even when they do a poor job. So what I'm saying is I want to make sure that everybody understand that. We do have a point right now, so I can jump off the live. It's an hour. I didn't intend to go that long. At this point, to give you a little update about what I'm doing. I'm running for U.S. Congress. And that was all started from this right here. Everybody can look at me. I'm a little smaller in size now from the stresses of fighting for Daniel, the stresses of trying to run a foundation, trying to do a campaign, I just go on and on and on. So I do a whole bunch of stuff at one time, wearing all these hats and stuff, right? And still trying to investigate and, all this kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is, what's going on right now is that I'm like I said, still running for Congress. starting now. The other part is, and you're welcome, Keisha. I see that, and I'm gonna put everybody on the chats. I'm gonna put you up here on the screen soon. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and put some of that up now. Um, but what I want to say is, I'm doing this, still trying to fight for my son. I'm still working with law enforcement. I say work with law enforcement. I'm bringing that up because April the 12th, I believe it was, I had a search this year for my son, and of course, you guys, everyone who's been donating from day one, I appreciate you guys. Like I said, I would not have done any of the stuff without your help, right? Because it's impossible for a retired military guy to be doing all of this by himself, and to be able to take care of home here in South Carolina and try to take care of a place. I was in Arizona at the time, staying in a 1-bedroom apartment, trying to fight for my son. So doing two things, it was a lot. To make a long story, I can't tell you, you know, first of all, again, I appreciate everybody who's been helping in every form and every way you can. So doing this congressional run is, to fight for missing Americans is one of the part of my platform, is to, find those. So now I did. I sat there to craft some legislation that's already going to to here in South Carolina to try to get passed in January. I had to wait to January, but the fact is, trying to do something for those missing Americans out there. So that's what I'm doing. Let's see what else I'm writing some new legislation right now. I'm not going to be able to tell you everybody what that is right now, but it's going to be beneficial to everyone. And also, let's see. There's so much I'm trying to stay on track. But the thing is, the work that I'm trying to do is work with law enforcement and get a reset. Is what I was trying to go at. The reset happened on April 12th. Before April 12th. That was, I think it was in November or ish last year. I happened to call Buckeye Police Department to get an update because they wasn't calling me and I didn't hear anything. And it feel like what they're doing, right? And then had I not called, I wouldn't have known that. I don't know if he quit or he retired or what the case may be. But make a long story, they first tried to act like he was still there. Detective Biffin, who's the guy that was running Daniel's case, right? I called and asked to speak to him. He went answer the phone. They said, "Oh, we're gonna give him a message." First, they saying to give him a message, but then the other person I called, they say he don't work there any longer. So, and they told me that we have a new detective on Daniel's case. Great. Why didn't you tell me? So, of course, it'll make me feel a little certain way, but I did call Officer Justin Adams is his name. And it's kind of ironic because I know someone with that same name, but he really nice detective. Talked to me on the phone. He said that I see somebody put it as a 20-year retired vet. Okay, I'm gonna put this up, you guys. Your comments, I really appreciate those comments. But Detective Adams, we had a great conversation on the phone. He said he did hear about Daniel's case, and he was reviewing it and going over what Detective Biffin left, right? So I asked him at the time, because of a great conversation, hey, I'm trying to get this search because I had some new leads. I had 2 new leads that I want to work on. And then also I had an area of the desert that I would like to try to get to. That I still had a problem. Everyone, I'll be honest with you, I did help the Rangers to do it, but I need a line search. And when I've been doing all the weeks of searches, we have always had a hard time to this date to figure out how to get logistically to get volunteers on the other side of the Hudson River. And so I said, I think I got a good idea how to get it done. So I told him I was going to have this search. I had got a new lead. I told him about the lead, but I also had a second lead that I didn't tell him about. And the reason why I told him about what it was, but I didn't tell him where. He was trying to ask me where, because we can go look and this. And I said, no. I'll be honest with you. I do not have trust in the Buckeye Police Department. So I'll just be honest. I said, I had a bad relationship with you guys. I need to be there present. I'm a present person. I have to be there eye to eye to see this happening, right? And so I said, I'm gonna have a search sometime in the spring, and I want you to see if you can talk to Chief Sanders and see if possible the Buckeye Police Department can join me. It'll be a good look for them, and it'll be great. We can start over, right? And so he agreed to that. Yeah, it sounds very receptive to that. And you're gonna talk to Chief Sanders. Okay. In the meantime, I was trying to make sure I get the funding. So that's the thing, you guys. I'm saying the funding part is the hardest part of it, but get the funding for it. So I was kind of putting the cart before the horse, and say you could say just taking it by faith. And so I had to do all those lies and try to get the funding, get people motivated, and try to help. And so anyway, long story. I was able to get the funding enough. I got enough to. It wasn't quite what I really needed, but it was enough to get this whole thing going. Because I know the cost. Many people don't know the cost that I had to put out in these desert searches weekly. Just equipment by itself can cost me easily $3,000 just for the equipment, and also all this other stuff. Just it's a lot. I don't want to go over that because I did a live before to try to show everyone those kind of costs. So I know I needed had certain things I need in that search, but then I had to kind of budget in my mind to do like a mini of that, But at the same time, try to have a lot of volunteers because I had three places to search, and plus the law enforcement had to do one part. So that means I had to have enough people to cover the northern side of the search where I had to lead, had to tip. I had to cover the south side, where southwest side, where it goes over to the other side of the Hassayampa River. Like I said, well, actually, it was three places. Then also, like I said, law enforcement, where this tip was for a tree that they need to utilize cadaver dolls and all this other kind of stuff, right? So once I got this thing set up and I really secured the funding that I need to be able to do that, and also I had to be there myself. I then told law enforcement where this location would be, and I think I told them like the day before the search. I actually got to Phoenix, actually got in their face because I wanted to sit and talk with. There's a couple things I had to do. Like I said, you guys, when I get to Arizona, I do a lot at one time. And so the plan also was to get in Detective Adams' face, get in Chief Sanders' face, even though he said he can help with search and they were willing to do it. But once I got to see the stuff disappear here. But once I got to Phoenix, like I said, and I went to Buckeye and I sat down with Detective Adam, myself, and I don't know what's his name, Larnell Farmer. He don't mind. We sat down with Chief Adams, and that was on the 10th. It was on April 10th, 2 days before the search. And so that was my goal. I was able to achieve the objective that I want to do. Hey, I need to get enough funding to do this, Y, Z, and get all this done at one time. And now, because when I talked to Chief Adams, he was very receptive. He is willing to help, and he was saying that he didn't want to throw Detective Biffin under the bus. So he was using language, well, I wasn't here, but if I would have did it this way. But he would have did some things differently. But he's not going to throw the man under the bus either. At the same time, I can do that. I throw him under the bus because a lot of things wasn't done right. So they gave me some promises. We're going to they wanted to be able to process those things I wanted to process, redo them. Look into the stuff that happened in Daniel's apartment. Full forensics of that vehicle. Find out who was on the passenger side. All this kind of stuff. We had this discussion. And then he said at the end, to make a long story with all these promises, but I had to do a custody exchange, meaning that I had to go in my storage units with Daniel's stuff where I store his things and, give custody to them so they can perform these forensics. And so, after that agreement, he said, well, we're going to try to get it done fast. I said, no, it had to be done this week. We had to get this stuff done this week because that's all I have. The funding had to cover this week. And so, he did it. They did it. They came out there on the 11th, the day before the search. We went into the storage unit. I'll be honest with you, a little part of me now kind of regrets a little some things, but I mean, so far I have a regret, and I'll tell you the reasons why. But I gave them everything I have. When I say leverage, I feel it was some type of leverage in a sense. Not saying exactly what it is, but some type in a sense, meaning that as long as I have something, I can find answers, right? But I need to make sure that when I get those answers on one who really want to find these answers, can get hold to these things. And I really trust Detective Adam because I felt like it was a reset with the Buckeye Police Department. And I'll say, you know what? I got to take it in faith. I got to trust God. And even though I felt weird because of the relationship I have with the Buckeye Police Department, don't trust them, I had to let it go. Let it go and hope they do the right thing. And it's hope. And so everything seemed very good. Like I said, Detective Adam and his team met us at the storage unit. They had the body cam footage on. We did paperwork I recorded myself, the custody exchange of these items. And so once they got that, I gave them time. At the April 12th search, I didn't go knock on their doors the next week. I didn't go knock on the doors the week after that. I didn't go knock on the doors the week after that, but after a certain time, I did go knock on the doors and ask them what they found. And Detective Adams told me that we sprayed the items. I'm laughing from not being mad. We sprayed the items with some kind of chemical, almost like luminous or whatever they call it. But he said he used something else so it won't destroy DNA and stuff like that. But looking for blood or something. So, we didn't find anything, right? And so I said, okay, what else do you do? And that was it, And so he said, well, I said, well, okay, now, so the problem I have right now, I said, okay, you say you was gonna process the stuff for DNA, and he said, oh yeah, we did swab, we got the swab from. He talking about the shifter they did in the report. Then I said, wait a minute, what y'all comparing it to? You don't have anything to Daniels. Compare his DNA to what? And then he started throwing it off on some lady in the department, which I'm going to call you guys when I'm making this live because I'm getting ready to call them again this week and next week. But he throwing it off to the other woman. Well, some woman's job, it's her job, and I'm like, this, and that's what made me feel like I regret. That's the regret part, because then I told him, I said, okay, I tell you what, when y'all done with it, I need all those items back, because then I'm going to have to get an independent forensics testing. And that's when he started really, like I say, pushing that, throwing it off on somebody else type stuff. So that's what I'm planning to do coming up, is to get those things. Yeah, they're supposed to, and I don't have no confidence that they did what they say on that part too. They're supposed to have picked that vehicle up as well. Yeah, so I don't know. I haven't seen that vehicle on twice. Like I tell you, everyone, I stay away. But yeah, that was their job to pick that up as well, that vehicle. Also, but that's where we're at. So for those who know, when it comes to that part of the story, so you can imagine the stress is still from that. I try to avoid it much as possible, but try to keep my head straight, because if you're running for Congress, you got to do certain things politically. But it's hard. It's hard when you have to focus on this part too. And I know the reasons why I'm doing a lot of things I do, so I keep pushing. But what I'm saying is, I need you guys' prayers. And having said that, I'm going to go in the chats real quick, but then I want to do a prayer, and then I'm going to get out of here. So I want to say again, thank you everyone for joining me here. Thank you to YG for being here. Thank you, Tracy, for being here. Also, let's see. I'm about to put myself on the screen. Let's see who I got here. And I was going to do a little Q&A, everyone, but I know I can't do it. So the next live I do will be the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please, and it's going to be soon. It could be closer to the weekend, but please look out for my queue to say I'm going to do a live and come with your questions, because, of course, you guys know I will answer those questions. So if you have questions, we can talk about those. But I'm also going to talk about Caitlin on the next live. So we're going to go there. If you have any questions, like I said, we'll talk about those too. But let me see here. I'll make sure I get Lakeisha, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for moderating. Y'all for being there for me from day one. All those thousands of flyers you put out there doing the sit. And I want to say this too, everyone. Of course, on the media and everything, that's all I talk about is the desert searches. But Lakeisha, if I could put you out like this, we did weeks and weeks and weeks, probably almost the same amount of weeks of city searches. So I have people like Lakeisha out in the city searches every every weekend as well out there. So for me, it was leaving that desert, a hot 118 degree desert, tired or whatever the case would be, rush home, flying down to Phoenix to my apartment, change the clothes real quick like I'm Superman or something, and meeting people like Lakeisha down at the spot behind the Walgreens so we can go hit the streets out there in the city. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work just doing that every time. So it wasn't easy, but we did it. We did a lot. YG, again, thanks so much. Original Sin, thanks so much. Brandy, thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Amelia, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Esther, thank you so much. Always being here as well. Thanks so much for still sending emails, and I want to apologize to you because it's always hard for me to go back to the emails. I'm doing that part by myself. A lot of people I had at the time. I don't have that too much now because I'm doing a lot of other stuff. So those emails go unanswered and things. Don't think it's intentional thing, or Slack or anything like that. Just that I'm spread thin. I'll just put it that way. Leanna, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Please help find Daniel.com for those who want to contribute. Let me see if I can put the banner up on the bottom here so you can hit those. There you go. It's on the bottom there. So thanks for even mentioning that, and I really appreciate that, Leanna. Also, let's see if I can get did I say Mary Ellen? Thanks so much again. If I say it twice, that's fine. Mary Ellen, thanks so much. Also, Valerie, again, thanks so much. I really appreciate you. Let's see what I got here. Artist, thanks so much for being here. Hire a private investigator to investigate Ken. Yeah, that's gonna have to be another go at that to try to get more answers to what happened. I do know there's. I talked to a officer. I don't know if we call him officer or detective out of Charlotte, North Carolina, on the Mecklenburg Police Department, something like that, who have a system, and he helped me before, but it didn't go far because I somehow lost contact with him. But they have a system where they can, it's like almost like looking for cell phone pings, but it's a little different. They have a different system to be able to determine who was in the area at the time at some given time. So he was asking me a lot of questions. Should it have been, because he saw multiple phones in the area where this vehicle was found the day that Daniel was missing. And he said, should anybody be in the area? And I'm saying, no, I don't know. This is a desert, so I don't know. So I wanted a little bit more information about that because that would kind of help with the narrative of the vehicle being planted there. So why those people, whoever those phones belong to, was out there. So I lost that. He was looking into it for me, and then I lost, like I said, the content. So I hope I can get it back. But private investigator, yes. PM channel, thank you so much. You're always there for Daniel. I really appreciate you. Original Sin, thank you so much for putting up your stuff on the podcast. I really appreciate you as well for helping out in my endeavors to find my son. And so let's see who else I got. Mary Ellen, again. Tracy, thank you for being here constantly. All right, I got Mr. Q. I see Mr. John Q. Thank you, sir. Thanks so much for being here. David, is that a PDF document? Yes, it is. PDF. I have a lot. But anyway, yes. And at some point, I think I know where you're going at on that, John Q. But yes, it's a PDF. And let's see, we have something else here. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Tracy, thank you so much for being here. And thank Valerie. I think I said it before, but thank you again. Holly, thank you so much for being here. Continue to hold you and your family in prayer for comfort and answers. BD, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate everyone who's been here from day one and who's constantly still supporting and helping and everything you guys doing. Excuse me. It's been over 4 years, like I said, 4 years, 3 months. And we're still searching for Daniel. And, I don't give up because you know what? I had, we saw what happened to my friend. I hope she don't mind. Jessica Nunez, her daughter, Alicia, who's missing for 4 years. And the same length of time Daniel's missing now. And her daughter, with one good message, and her mother just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing. and her daughter heard her voice and was able to go to the police department, and she's home safe now. So it can happen. That's why I don't give up on my son. Also, I had a friend of mine, best friend of mine, and I hope he don't mind as well, brother, missed for many years, I think 20 years or so, and come knock on the door one day. So things can happen. So that's what I'm saying. And you're welcome, Keisha, for that. Yes, of course. Thank you for being here. So yes, I still continue to fight. Also, let's see here. Philip Todd. As a 20-year retired deputy sheriff, I read the entire report, and it does appear to me that law enforcement did a lot of work in the case. The loss of your son is quite sad. Sad, and I 100% agree. You should never give up your search. Thanks so much, Todd. I really appreciate you being here as well. Let's see. Let's see. And also, you said, but just know cops are humans, and when you push them too hard, they will do just enough to make you go away. Well, you know what? I'm a human too, and I served this country in Afghanistan, and we got pushed hard. We was on Zulu time. I don't know if you even familiar with that, Mr. Todd Phillips, Philip Todd. And we work hours where we'll be lucky if we got into sleep, but yet I have to be behind the gun vehicle and defend my battle buddies when we're in convoys. I had to sometimes do cross training, and we're combat engineer, and I had to do some work with the engineers. And we was pushed hard by our sergeants and those who was in charge of us, pushed very hard. If we had that same mentality and we just did enough, we would have lost a lot of soldiers. So I said that to say, Wilson, while we're doing our job in harm's way, dodging bullets at the same time while we're trying to build, we still did our job under pressure. So if I don't give law enforcement the pleasure of saying, hey, I can give minimal work because you hurt my feelings. I don't care about feelings. I care about you doing your job. I get my feelings hurt a lot. I get hurt from people who threaten to kill me because I was out there looking for my son. I get it from, there's people who try to downplay me when I need GoFundMe money to make sure that I have an operation going, who try to find all kind of faults about me. So if I can be tough-skinned with a missing son, I'm hurt. A law enforcement officer who's shielded with his job can do his job without worrying about his feelings. So if you're not doing your job, if you're a coworker, if you're a person who have a job and your boss come to you and say you're doing a substandard job, where you're going to continue to do a substandard job, no, because you'll be fired. And I can tell you, if you're a public servant, like I was when I fought for this country, who is your employer? Who is your person? It's the people here in the United States, and also it is the people who the law enforcement serve. So excuse me for sounding the way I do. I don't agree with you. So I just want you to know that part. All right. All right, Esther, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone, everyone who came into this live this evening. And again, let's see if I can get anybody else. Taylor Weaver, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you being here. We need to blow this up on TikTok somehow. TikTok has solved and opened up so many cases. Yes, I just got to keep it going. Like I told you before, I've spread myself thin, and so when I'm making this live tonight, it's only because I say, you know what, I have to keep Daniel's story out there. I have to let people know what's going on. And I want everybody to understand that my absence from social media, stuff like this, doesn't mean I'm not fighting for my son. I'm just doing too many things at one time. And so a lot of times I don't get on social media like I used to and talk about it. But I'm there. I'm fighting. I'm there still trying to engage law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Robinson, I saw your son case on the news on TV. I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. Thanks so much for being here tonight. My immediate thought was foul play. I'm an activist. I know environmental activities often disappear. activists often disappear. Your son may have discovered something wrong from Ken's discrepancies. I think he's involved in Daniel's disappearance. And that's some of the things that I'm looking at. I want to say thank you again for your support from Canada. I really appreciate it. But yes, yeah, you're right. Definitely a lot of answers need to be from that side. A lot of answers from different directions, but you got to cover all your bases. I've been watching your case for years and praying for you and your family, your son. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you, Taylor. Paula, thanks so much. Law enforcement did not do enough. David did most of the work and investigating, and thank you for pointing that out. There was no sense of urgency. This is his child. Of course, he is going to press them for most information. Of course, start with the nonsense, and I agree. What I'm saying is to pick it back on that. You're right. Again, when I started at the beginning of this thing, and the gentleman said that I take it as put so much pressure on them, they don't try to do the less they can just to make me go away. And that's exactly what they were doing. They was patting themselves on the back. And they had no reasons to do that at first. Anybody coming to my whole attitude when I was driving the 2,000 miles to get to Phoenix wasn't that I'm gonna get on the law enforcement. No, my thing was we're working with them. I'm the kind of father. I'm a different kind of person. I don't know how everyone is, but I'm a hands-on person. So I couldn't in a million years have one of my children missing. And somehow, and I do this all the time on this live, y'all see me do this somehow I'm going to be at home in Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm be on my phone saying, hey, officer, crying or whatever I'm doing. Have y'all heard anything about my son? And the officer, in my opinion, my hair is always like this. He on the phone. Yeah, we're out here right now looking for him. And yeah, we can't find anything. That's how my mind works, right? Because if I can't see it and I can't be a part of it, then it might not be getting done, right? But the other part is, and because it's my son. Now, if it's some other little situation that's different, but this is my child. Like you said, Paula, your baby. And so grown man, but my child, right? And so I'm going to be there. I'm not the kind of parent from calling from South Carolina. I'm going to be there, right? So I had to be there and get into. And I'll be honest with you, and people hear me say that on the networks. I thought I was gonna be not literally holding it, figuratively holding hands with law enforcement, working this thing together. That's what I really believe. That's how it started off. It started off, and I'm telling this gentleman that will say I'm working them too hard. I didn't say nothing to law enforcement. I was taking their word for gospel, everything they was telling me, and I found a lady that was lying to me. But what I have done, been working with Buckeye Police Department, and on time it fell apart was when that vehicle showed. When this vehicle showed up, the whole thing fell apart. Because when they told me my son probably joined a monastery and became a monk, to get away from you and your family, that was a problem for me. When they said, "Oh, we ain't see no blood and no injuries at all," but he had a head injury, he shred all his clothes 3 feet away from the vehicle, lying 3 feet away. Then he went under. Then the detective Biffin had the nerves to ask me, "Do my son wear boxers or briefs like I'm low? What my son wear under his pants?" Disrespectful stuff. Like how would know what he wearing? Well, he everything from underwear down to sock was lying 3 feet away from the vehicle, right? Then to suggest that some wild animal ate him, right? He crawled up on the tree to cool off, and the wild animal ate him. When I hear craziness like that, like I'm some kind of nut, crazy, deranged family member that law enforcement, like he said, doing the sub job, and it wasn't because I put pressure on them. I was helping them, giving all them. They got all the information. Where you think they got the phone report? Where they got the bank statement? We gave it to. We were working with them, so it wasn't no calls when we put no pressure on them to make us go away. They were trying to make us go away because they didn't want to do the job. And so when that vehicle showed up, like I said, and they was giving all those suggestions, that caused me to say, "Nah, I'm not leaving here without my son. I need a second opinion." That's why I got my private investigator. I was already out in the desert doing searches in 118-degree weather with over 100, 200 people at a time. searching these areas. And so every week and every day almost. And so, like I said, I didn't lose relationship with them until my private investor came up there. And this is literally what happened. They gave me the report I just gave y'all, you guys. I got that unredacted report from them. That's the first report they gave me. Well, the second one. They gave me the first one unredacted. It was half a report they claimed. Then they gave me a second report that was done. They said they have done my son's case. They moved on. They even put it on social media that they had no more leads to follow. Then when I said something about it, they snatched it off. But we got copies of that. They said they had no leads. And then when I had my private investigator, he called up there to come pick this vehicle up because I sent him up there to go get it. And because they was holding for me to do that little swabbing they did, I asked them to do fingerprinting. And so from that point, when he got there, I'll never forget this day. He got there to put this vehicle up as my possession. They gave me the vehicle. I asked them to hold it for a few more days because we had an argument in that meeting with Chief Hall about them not doing forensics on the scene. No work, to this man's credit, to take up for law enforcement. They didn't do anything. Detective Biffman, I got on a phone call that I recorded myself, and I said that way on purpose. I recorded myself talking to law enforcement, and he said on the phone call the reasons why he felt he didn't see no need to do no forensics on the scene. So they didn't do anything on the scene. But I was in the office arguing with them. Why? How you know Dan was driving a vehicle? And then Detective Sergeant Hanneman said, "There's his vehicle. Of course he was driving." I mean, who would say that? And I'm saying they was playing me like I was some dummy. But they don't know. I come from, my children and I come from a family of scientists. So the whole point I'm saying is we don't think on that kind of level. We think on common sense level. So we have, if you get in a conversation with my children, Daniel, and all us together, you're like, y'all some big bunch of nerds or something, because we think on some different levels. So I'm like, okay, who would say that? Who would say that to a person? Is his vehicle? Of course he was driving. I mean, you're a detective and you're the sergeant detective and saying that, and so I demanded the fingerprinting. I didn't know what to ask for. I demanded the fingerprinting. And so I asked them agreed. Chief Hall agreed to hold it for 3 more days to do this fingerprinting. They claim they swab and do all this other stuff. And so to this day, even with the swabbing to the man that's taken up for law enforcement, they still haven't tested those swabs. To this day, and here's 2025, going on 2026. Still haven't done it. My son went missing 2021. And that's good work, police work. And so the point is I'm making is when it comes to that fallout between us, they haven't done the work. I was asked for the vehicle back. They told me to come get it, right? Come get it. I was coming up to get it because I was telling them to come to get it because they told me when that vehicle first showed up on July 19th, on July 20th, when they told me 24 hours after, over 24 hours after the vehicle showed up, that he found it, that the rancher found it. They threatened me. Detective threatened me, say, "You need to get it out of here or we're going to have a total away and you're going to have to pay storage fees." That's good police work. Talking to a family who's grieving, who's seeing the vehicle for the first time, and I feel like I was about to break down on that scene. I told him I had enough, sir. I can't see this no more. And that's the next statement he had to say to me. And that's good police work. And so after that, like I said, I had a meeting, had them say they're going to do the swabbing for me, fingerprinting for me, hold it for me. And when I went to go pick it back up, told them I was on the way to come get it. Yeah, come on and get it. My investigator showed up there and they asked him, "What you get ready to do with this vehicle?" He said, "I'm having an infotainment system pull out of there and I have to send it to California to get an analysis, blah, 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 tell them stuff about detective stuff." As soon as he said, "Oh my God," they claimed they had possession of it. And they went through all kind of red tape that day to try to get that vehicle out of there. They called their state attorney, I guess city attorney or whatever. And the city attorney said, "Well, y'all already gave it to Mr. Robinson. It belongs to him. You cannot hold it. You cannot hold that vehicle." So my investigator, what they did do is say, "Well, he got to sign for it because we got to sign for it, blah, 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 so on and so on." I had to drive all the way from Phoenix, Arizona, back up to Buckeye, 40-something miles away, just to sign a piece of paper so my investigator could drive on out of there with it, right? And so that's good police work now. And then my investigator found all this information. It took a long time. I think it was a I don't want to misquote it, but it's a lot of pages came back from that infotainment system, right? It also, let me back up a little bit. Before before I had to come up, got up there to sign this paper so my investigator pull out of there. My investigator told me, they told him in his face, they're not even investigating. They gave him the black box data that they didn't even read. Only thing they got from the Buckeye police got from it said, oh, he was driving 30 something miles per hour or something to that effect. But my investigator got that black box data, and he's as a reconstructionist, got that data and brought all that stuff back with him, right? So sometime after that, I think about a month or so, my investigator came back with his report. He found the 11 additional miles on that vehicle. He found the red transfer paint on that vehicle. He found that the vehicle's crashed, cranked, or attempted to crank, or cranked or attempted to be cranked 46 times after the airbags deployment. He found that it happened around 1 o'clock. Of course, we're going to talk about some of that 1 o'clock thing, but this is what he found. He found it's a lot. All the airbags are deployed in the vehicle, and law enforcement didn't find out one thing because they didn't, like Detective Biffle said, he see nothing that warrant any kind of forensics or anything else done. But that's good police work. And so once my investigator found all the stuff, he was stunned. He was stunned. He says it's a stage event. He won News Nation talking about it, this and that, blah, blah. And then as soon as all that happened, because by that time I was pushing Dan's case real hard, and got the sad part, everybody know when the Petito case happened, they amplified my son's story on top of that, right? To get on the national side of things. Now, what I'm saying is, the whole time before that happened, before my investigator came out with this report, I was talking to Detective Biffin a lot, asking what they're doing on their side. We having a full conversation, but as soon as he came in there, because my detective at the time, he was, the way that the Buckeye Police Department seemed like they was working against us, he was reluctant to even give it to them. He was trying his best to go straight to the FBI with it, trying his best, but the FBI rejected, pushing back. Well, you got to go through the chain of command, I call it chain of command in the military way. You got to go through that system. Got to go to Buckeye and invite them in some type of way, right? So soon as that happened, we gave them that data, gave them information, all the stuff he found. Buckeye Police Department stopped talking to me, period. Me and my family. And that is good police work. Good work they were doing. Ignore the family. That is good work. And they maybe because we stressed them out or something by giving them that report. I don't know. That's what the gentleman to me is saying to me. I'm saying all this here because he offended me. I'll be honest with you. And so what I'm saying is all the work, everything we have done, the 11 additional mile, all the stuff from my investigator, the human remains out there. And I'm gonna say this is police, good police, but when this vehicle was found by the rancher, right? Law enforcement claim there's out there with over 6 cadaver dogs and search dogs and all the stuff. And they ain't found nothing, said Daniel left the scene. They have found no human remains and no nothing in the area, right? Nothing. They claim they had a helicopter, low-flying helicopter search, all this kind of stuff. They claim that day on July the 19th when this vehicle sitting there in the ravine. Know what they came up after they did all of that? Nothing. They couldn't find a construction cone in front of their face. They couldn't find their own hand in front of their face. They couldn't find anything. They couldn't find their own foot on the ground. I mean, nothing, right? But right after that, the very week after that, only a few hundred feet from this vehicle, few thousand feet from the vehicle, my team, we found a human skull. So that was good police work with them dogs they got. And we found it on foot without the dogs. When I did hire some dogs that I had to bring into my own searches, I had to get my own helicopter. I had to get my own fixed wing aircraft. I had to do some real searches. We found we used our own plane and found y'all don't hear this in the report. But this is good police work. Now, this is my stuff I'm talking about right now. What you haven't heard in the report is what we found near the well site. We found another set of human clothing in a pile in the same manner Daniel's clothes was. But these clothes was like a person probably about 200 or 300 pounds. But y'all don't hear about that. But that was good police work because they the one didn't find it. So so if people want to say Buckeye did such a great job, like they told me that the FBI said when I asked them to come into the case, when Chief Hall agreed with my attorney and said, we can do a case briefing. And then they did it behind my back when I was supposed to be a part of that meeting. They do the case briefing, and they said that the FBI, and they told me literally, and I got that as well. I've recorded myself with Detective Biff and Sanders to me. He says, "You, Mr. Robinson, are doing." The FBI said, "You, Mr. Robinson, are doing such a great job on your own. We don't need to come in. Like, I'm doing a better job than the FBI." So that's good police work. So what I'm saying is to this man who's saying this on this live, yeah, you tipped me off. You tipped me off with that, and I can say that you know, again, I'm gonna say it over and over again. I have never, ever sought out to some kind of way be a police basher. In fact, I myself was about to get into the police academy. I have a stepbrother who he and I started at the same time. He kept going and he's retired. So I have police law enforcement in my family. I have military people in my family. I'm a military guy myself. So what I'm saying, I'm not a cop basher or police basher or anything, but I call out BS. I call it, especially if it was my own son, my own family. I call them out as if they are. You know, if they're lazy, I'm call it out. If they're not doing a good job, I don't care what was in that report. And that's the thing I was saying when I going through this report. When I go through these reports, what I'm saying is everything in that report is not true. And to that gentleman that said that about what he read in the report, I can give you 3 reports that say something different. Law enforcement, Buckeye Police Department had Chief Hall got suspended for falsifying reports before, and they're doing it again in the way I see it. Because anytime you can give me a partial report, right, and it says it's going to be complete, then you give me a complete report, but then you come out with another report because I've started making this thing national, and then you release one to the public for the public view, and in that public view report, you put in things that got nothing to do with my son disappearing, but give me say, well, Mr. McGrath said this about Mr. Robinson, and what about this GoFundMe thing, and blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to sensationalize my case and try to destroy my credibility with people who's supporting what I do for my son and my family. And you call that good police work because you read that in the report and what they put in their little black and white stuff must be true. Yeah, I challenge you on that. So what I'm saying is everything you see in the report and in the law enforcement, and you like you said, they are human. They are human too to write stuff that's not true too as well, just to support themselves. Because what we used to call in the military is cover your own behind. And so what I'm saying is a lot of them would do that. And so again, I would challenge him on anything he said. And I'm sorry everyone to see me get on the mad side. You probably have never seen the side. But what I'm saying is that was really offensive to me because I heard it before. I heard that same language. And when the blue, and I'm taking to this gentleman, is a blue. When the blue look at the blue, that's what they do. The blue looks out for the blue. And just like when I talked to the FBI field office in Phoenix, when I thought I was going to die that day, and I'll be honest with you, sitting in that security room and come to talk to this agent who so-called did this case briefing with the Buckeye Police Department. He came with 2 armed guardsmen with him, wouldn't even let us in the building, put us in the security room and yell at me just with me saying, "Hey, I'm David Roth," and cut me off so I can finish my full name. And so long story I'm short, so saying is glorified cops is what that FBI agent is, you know. So the point is I'm trying to say with the blue is always going to look out for the blue. Of course, the blue, this gentleman that came on to say, yeah, I read the report and they did a good job. Yeah, I beg to differ. So I'll say it like that. All right. So anyway, everybody, good night. I had to get off because that really ticked me off and I really need to get some rest. I have things I have to do. Now I had to go back tomorrow and put my political hat on to be a politician. So take care of yourselves. All right. Military forever. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Mary, for being here. Also, thank you so much, Pamela. I found a piece of 2 blocks. I found a piece of 2 blocks over that was stolen out of my garage refrigerator. I don't know what this is about, but maybe something else. But to my kids, I go around the yard. That goes. You must have a conversation with someone. I'm not sure. But thanks so much, Pamela, for being here. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate everyone who's been a part of this live. And again, I didn't want to be this long, but you guys already know I'm always long-winded. I try to get off as I can. It would never happen. I try. But take care of yourselves. And again, always hug those you love. And again, I will say this before. Even when you're mad at someone, And thank you. I really appreciate that, PM channel. Thank you. Thank you again. I thank everybody who had those words to say. I need those positive energy. I thank you so much. Positive energies. Thank you so much. All right. Um, all right. But yeah, like I said, I just want to say thank you again for everyone to being a part of this. I wanted to not really have a long live, but I'm here. And so again, for those who may be listening and have a tip about my son, tip lines on the bottom of the screen. I paid for this. Live operators, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Take your call. Um, you can remain anonymous. If, for instance, you don't want to talk to anyone, but you want to leave a tip, you can also text the word tip to this number, and you can still remain anonymous if you like. So, and also through this tip line, if you're not anonymous or anonymous, you still can have a direct, text communication with me. So, I can tell you that part too. So, thanks so much, everyone. Oh yeah, one last thing before I jump off, and I've almost forgot. I have to do this. I'm just gonna pray and then I'm gonna jump off, everyone. But yes, I'm gonna do this prayer like I did for this 23rd, like I said, a year and 3 months. My son was missing, and 4 years, then 3 months, and so I'll do this prayer and then I'm jumping off. So please hang in there, stick in with me for this little while longer.
You are my shelter from the storm. You keep me safe inside your wings. You are my comfort when life gets hard. You lead me to water to drink. Your gentle hand, even when I can't understand, I know your voice. I'm not afraid, walking with me at the same pace.
Okay, let us pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you, Lord, for this day, for life, health, and strength. Thank you for your goodness and your mercies. Thank you for everyone that's joining me on this live this evening. It's been hard. It's been hard for years, but you have, with your grace, bring us through to this point, and I really appreciate it. It's been 4 years, 3 months, but yet we're still not giving up because we know that you have a plan. You have a plan. You brought us here to this point for a reason, and I really believe that, Lord, that you will bring the answers that I'm looking for my family, to bring Daniel back home. I hope and pray that he's safe. He can come home safely. But your will be done, Lord. I really thank you right now for the people, like I said, that's joining in with me, who's been supporting from day one, who's constantly still supporting. I really appreciate them. Ask you, Lord, to lend your hand and praise and bless them as well. They have needs, they have desires, they have things that's going on in their lives, their individual lives, and you know what each and every last one of those things are. I ask you, Heavenly Father, to bless them right now, bless their families, bless their loved ones, the ones they love. If they have some missing American families here as well, bless their families as well, that they may get the answers that they're looking for. I thank you, Heavenly Father, for blessing the Petito family, giving them the strength, Lord. Though they have been going through what they have gone through, their daughter, the loss of their daughter, and they had to go through a anniversary of that time. Lord, give them strength and give them the strength they need and the comfort that they need through their pain. And all other families, like I said, that's going through. We have over 600,000 Americans go missing every year, over 2,000 or 3,000 a day, 2,000 with your children. Bless those families, those ones that lost they're missing their loved ones today, Lord. Bless them as well. Excellent Heavenly Father, for all your many blessings. We thank you for all your goodness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So thank you everyone for joining in with me. I'm going to jump off now. And again, like I said, I'm going to do a live again really soon here. Once I get some little spaces in between my, stuff, I'm getting ready to do something political. I don't want to put it out right now, but I have to do that. One thing I did learn, and you guys been following me for all these years, searching for my son and fighting for Daniel. But again, really quick, and I'm going to say it real quick because I had to jump off. But when I started to run for Congress, it all started with the fact that I was in Arizona working with those senators, and we were talking to those telecommunication companies who did not, to this day, giving us Daniel's cell phone ping records, give us cell phone pings. And I told them I'm coming through their back door. And the back door means I'm going to go get it done myself, and that's running for U.S. Congress. And some people say, why don't you do it for the? No, I'm going to the top because I'm going to make sure this not going. What happened to my family is not going to happen to any other families here in this country. Again, especially with the technology and things that we got going on now. We do it for all these other things. We need to stop this crisis that's happening in our country and find our missing loved ones. So again, that's a reason why, for anybody want to know why I decided to jump in the political ring, that's one thing that pushed me there. But that's all other reasons that you have to be in the political ring as well. But that was the start, and that was the thing that pushed me there. And like I said, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I didn't know that being a politician would be so much work, but it's a lot. And so again, trying to juggle it all at one time. Take care of yourself and have yourself a blessed evening. And we'll talk soon again. So I will be jumping off right now. So take care.